Yeah, I thought that was one of the things I was going to talk about for this segment was Anthony Michael Hall specifically, because he was sort of the geek icon for the 80s. Because in that list of movies, Breakfast Club, he's the geek. Weird Science, he's the geek. 16 Candles, he's the geek. Every movie that he's in, he plays that quintessential
Vacation.
Vacation. He's the geek. He's the underdog, and he wins.
Original geek, that's who I am. Rolling 20s with my squad, we got a plan. Marvel heroes on the wall, D&D dice in hand. Original geek, across the land. Level up, never gonna give it up.
Right. Welcome back to Original Geek. This is the podcast for anyone who rolled dice in a basement, waited all night long for comic book covers to download, and proudly wore the label of geek back when it could get you shoved into a locker. Each week, we're going to dive deep into what it meant to be a geek in the 70s and 80s and how that compares to this pop culture multiverse we live in today. Well, who are we? Well, we're your hosts. We're two of the Gen X survivors who didn't just watch geek culture evolve. We lived through every awkward phase. Hi, I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, and we'll be your Saturday morning detention for today's coming-of-age story. What's our topic today, Steve?
Well, Jeff, what if I told you that the entire teenage experience of the 80s could be summed up in one man's movies?
I wouldn't believe you.
But his name wasn't Spielberg or Lucas.
Still.
Not going to buy it? What do you think about... Come on, it's John Hughes.
Okay. That's the one name I will accept.
And it's a good name because there were great movies in there. But I want to do a quick shout out to Josh Janvrin, at Josh Janvrin 2254 on YouTube on one of our very first episode. Josh made a request for these kinds of movies, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and we have been talking about jumping on this and doing this for a little while. So, Josh, this one's for you. Thanks for the suggestion.
Josh, former student. That's hilarious.
Is that one of your former students?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know he was a student of yours. So even a double bonus.
Yeah.
So Josh was the person who requested this. I found the comment. I apologize, Josh. I tried to call you out a couple times and I couldn't find it. But that's just because, I just can't.
Well, thanks, Josh, for being a listener. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, please keep tell your friends.
Spread the word.
Keep dropping these ideas because this is a great one. Jeff and I talked about this after we read the comment the first time, and this is an amazing topic because let me list the movies. Okay, so this is one man's movies in one decade. 16 Candles in 1984, The Breakfast Club in 1985, Weird Science in 1985, Ferris Bueller's Day Off 1986, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in 1987, She's Having a Baby in 1988, and Uncle Buck in 1989. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hit movies in one decade. With at least 1 year, he had two of the, to me, the best movies of the decade in 1 year. And I think they were pretty popular Gen X movies of the 80s. So,
well, and then if you include ones that he wrote but did not direct, the National Lampoon's Vacation, European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, what's that? Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone. Home Alone. I think that's one of the best-selling comedies of all times, and every Christmas people have to watch that movie.
It's iconic and had several sequels.
Yeah, Pretty in Pink. Yeah, he's got, and there's a ton of other writing credits that I'm just not even able to think of off the top of my head. That's just what I came up off the top of my head because I love those vacation movies. They're so good.
Oh, I can't do the quote anymore, but in the Christmas Vacation, when he loses his mind, Clark loses his mind and he takes the chainsaw to the newel post. That is one of the best rants of all time in a movie to me.
What, we can't swear on this?
We can. I just don't remember the rant.
Okay.
No, I would say all I remember is 4 Flushing at some point in time.
It's good because I was hoping to quote Planes, Trains, and Automobiles later.
No. I will say the one line I remember from that is, we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye.
Yes.
And his face is so red.
Yes. That rant is so good.
It's classic, and it's, it is, it's a great topic because,
I mean, I think he owned the 80s for like comedy, certainly teenage movies and comedy. Not that there weren't other great ones, Better Off Dead, Say Anything. There's some other great, but his just are enduring, stand the test of time. People still know them, quote them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had a formula, and it worked. It was the fight of the underdog. I mean, look at Breakfast Club. It's an amalgam of underdogs. Even the jock character turns out to be an underdog in his group. Obviously, Weird Science was just underdog story. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was probably I don't know if he was underdog.
Not an underdog.
But
Cameron, his friend, was the
underdog. But he was the support system for Cameron, and it was Cameron aspired to be Ferris.
Everybody loved him. The geeks, the dweebs, the druggies. I was going the principal's admin.
Yes,
that Ferris Bueller was one righteous dude.
One righteous dude. That's good. I like that.
She improvised that.
Did she really?
Cool. Yeah, I read that.
There's some cool stuff I got. So for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the girlfriend, Mia Sara, played the part, Sloane. Molly Ringwald wanted to be that part. And it's funny, as I look back, and you kind of knew, he used the same 3 or 4 actors a lot.
Yeah, he did.
Anthony Michael Hall, Molly Ringwald. He had John Cusack. I didn't know this, so I just did a rewatch of 16 Candles. And John Cusack, who was probably he was the king of the 90s.
And Joan Cusack.
They were like the leaders of the 90s movies.
Yeah.
And they started in 16 Candles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess Viggo Mortensen was going to be Jake Ryan, the crush, the love interest. Yes, Aragorn would have been. And I guess Molly Ringwald did a screen test kiss with him and really wanted him for the part. She was hot for that Aragorn sword.
See, if he would just burst in to that church scene, that like Aragon would have been awesome.
With this, but all right. So I think maybe it's time to drop into the past just a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's take a trip through time. It's a Geek flashback.
All right. Flashing back.
I think our intro is a bit of a flashback to start with. So I want to call something out. You said in the first episode, and I'm going to push it back to you when I think you might be heading there. I don't know. But you actually said that our group of friends was like the Breakfast Club.
Yes, except Boyd was Ferris Bueller. And and as I rewatched Ferris Bueller, I realized, okay, when I watched The Breakfast Club in that time period as a teen, I wanted to be Bender and was really Brian. And Ferris Bueller, yes. I wanted to be Ferris. I was Cameron.
Yeah,
I was so Cameron, and I have a story.
Oh,
as I'm watching this, and I'm thinking of Boyd as Ferris, and I think about a time, and just like for Ferris Bueller, for those who like need a refresher, Cameron was sick the same time Ferris was actually pretending to be sick, and Ferris didn't want to be alone, so he wanted Cameron to come over. Cameron didn't want to go over; he just wanted to stay in bed and sleep. Cameron Emmert's going over against what he said he wanted. Ferris Bueller wants to take Cameron's dad's Ferrari, which only has 127 miles on it. And He's like, no, you can't take this Ferrari. He said, no, no, no. Next thing we know, he's driving that Ferrari away. Cameron says no. Ferris says yes. Cameron loses. I'm the Cameron. Boyd's the Ferris. And I can't remember because Boyd hardly ever got in trouble. But for some reason, he was grounded from using his motorcycle. And it was one of those Japanese motorcycles. So one of those.
Well, he had a
fast
Kawasaki
ones.
Ninja 800.
There we go. He was forbidden from riding it. I did not want to drive this thing.
I remember
just
this.
Did not want. All he wanted me to do is drive it to the end of the street where he would pick it up and ride away. He just needed me to drive it to the end of the street. That's all he needed. It was a very reasonable request that I did not want to do at all. So I got on his motorcycle, got a quick lesson in how to use his motorcycle, rev that thing up, went across the street, literally crashed on the opposite of his driveway, his motorcycle.
Oh my
No, it
God.
only broke the mirror and scratched up some stuff.
I think you scratched up the fair end to it.
And he's like, he's so pissed. I'm like, I did not want to do this.
Yes, I tried to tell you. By the way, for anyone who's not ridden a motorcycle, that's not enough instruction. It was literally 3 minutes.
Oh God. As much in these Breakfast Club and, and then like in Weird Science, God, I didn't want to be one of those characters. But I'm trying to think if there was any other character I was. Anyway.
I often thought of you as Long Duck Dong.
That was Long Duck Dong. Yes. Automobile.
Yeah, that I
Oh,
was
you know what?
thinking
And
about-
then in 16 Candles, actually, even though he was nerdy, he was so Anthony Michael Hall. Can't remember what his character name was, but like,
Can I tell you his character name?
yeah,
It was the Geek.
that's right.
His
That's right.
name-
He didn't have a name.
He did
was
not.
a geek.
In the movie, they call him Ted, but when you look at in the credits, he's just listed as the Geek.
That's right. That's right. So but he was so confidently geeky. So I actually admired that.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the things I was going to talk about for this segment was Anthony Michael Hall specifically, because I only came to this realization, I think, in the last few weeks while we've been talking about this episode and I've been rewatching some of the movies. He was sort of the geek icon for the 80s, because in that list of movies, Breakfast Club, he's the geek. Weird Science, he's the geek. 16 Candles, he's the geek. Every movie that he's in, he plays that quintessential
Vacation.
Vacation. He's the geek. He's the underdog, and he wins. In every one of those movies, one of the better character arcs, one of the only, there's a few character arcs, and Hughes does a great job with characters who evolve. I don't want to dig into story methods or whatever too deep, but like one of the things I love in a movie is when you see a character start in point A and actually make it to point B, and point B is some sort of elevation of who they were, right? He becomes, it's not a huge, deep emotional journey, right? But he becomes a little less geeky, a little more aware of himself. In 16 Candles, it's that big. It's tiny. It's a very small jump. But like Breakfast Club, he evolves, and obviously, again, it's not a huge jump in Vacation, because a lot of the humor comes from that awkwardness. But
Okay, so who were you in these movies? Because I've said who I am. Well, who I wanted to be and who I was more like.
I mean, I think I can't. I don't want to have everyone's. He's just going to say the same shit. But the reality is, I was probably the Anthony Michael Hall character in pretty much all of those. You know what I mean? I wanted to be the jock. I wanted to be Estevez, the wrestler guy. That was, I didn't want to be Bender. I wanted to be like the jock, popular kid. I tried to play football. I just wasn't, I did track. I threw shot put. I was never great at any of it. I loved it, but I was just not good at it. But I was definitely more, and I don't remember his name in Breakfast Club, but I was definitely him. I was probably either of the two guys in Weird Science, if we have to pick, because I certainly wasn't Chet. So if I had to pick, it would have to be one of those. I don't, like I think you said, I don't want to pick a Weird Science character. 16 Candles, I actually think I would have been the John Cusack character.
Oh, yeah.
One of the two brothers, right?
Yes, me too.
The geeky tech nerd. They always had their stuff. Look at us. They had their headgear on. I just remember them. They walked up to the party and they had like headlamps on.
Yes.
Like they were going spelunking. Like that was the kind of awkward.
I would not have done that.
No, but that was the level of goofy.
I would have been equally as nervous walking through that door, though. I wouldn't have had the geek's confidence that Anthony Michael. I love that scene when he's talking to Jake Ryan after that party. He's just destroyed his house and he's making a martini.
Yes.
He's just like, hey, let me give you some girl advice.
Yeah. She's got the hots for you. Here, you want some nuts? And he's just, he's great. So, yeah. But I mean, he had, every one of those movies had that same formula. It was I hate to use the term. It's what I have in the notes. It's teen angst. I don't know a better word for it. I hate saying that word. I don't know what it is. It rubs me the wrong way, but that's what it was. That teen energy and anger and, I can't get what I want. And then it's always funny. And then there's always like really heartfelt moments in there, which is what I think makes his movies sit well. That's that at the end of Breakfast Club when Anthony Michael Hall's character reads the essay and like that really ties in all of their shared. And it's honestly, if you look back, it's probably people would say, oh, it's a stereotype. It's like, but no, it started the stereotypes in movies. Even in, which isn't one of his movies, Can't Buy Me Love. They dig into those stereotypes, but I think that came after this, and I think it was modeled on this movie. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, gotta hold off for Geek Evolution, though. I was almost going to talk about his impact, but
no, let's not impact yet. Let's talk about whether or not 40 years has done these movies justice, Jeff. I think it's time to take it to court. The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court. All right, so here's the real story. Here's the question. We're going to talk in two zones, right? Do the movies hold up? And then we're going to talk about one specific movie. And I'm going to say there's parts of these movies that they just don't stand the test of time.
All right. So
I won't dig in too deep, but I feel that there's parts of these things are problematic.
Okay. So I very much believe that movies of an era, we just need to accept that they're a product from that. As a former English teacher, when I hear about things like wanting to ban Huck Finn because of the use of the N-word, okay, but at the same time, he's befriending a black man.
Right.
They're traveling together, and he's treating him with dignity and respect. And so at that, way back when they wanted to ban it because a black man and a white boy were traveling together. And that was the reason they wanted to ban it. Now they want to ban it because they use the N-word. And I get that. I get that wanting to judge something from the current lens, not from the lens of the time. However, I will say there are two things in the rewatch that I just could not believe, because at the time I don't know why, like, it didn't strike me. One of them, I was also teenage nudity in 16 Candles and Weird Science. What? Teenage girl nudity, so topless girls in the shower. And so, like, that was a little surprising. and then the casual use of some homophobic slurs, which guilty. Back then, you just said, can we say it? I don't know if we should.
I don't know. We'll call it the F word.
So the
But
F word.
not the fuck word, the other F word.
So like we casually threw that around as an insult. And it didn't even mean like that someone was gay, because in both cases that it really stood out to me, in 16 Candles and in Weird Science, a character's hitting on a girl and her response is, "You're a F word." Like, that makes no sense, but it was just used as an insult.
Well,
and then
in
they're
those
like,
cases, just before you jump on, I think maybe that's why they thought it, and it was much more ubiquitous back then too, but maybe that was part of the point. It wasn't a guy saying it to a guy. It was a girl defending herself against getting hit on by a guy she didn't want to get hit on. And it was sort of a defense, right? I don't know why I'm trying to make an excuse for John Hughes dialogue, but.
Well, so like there's a couple things, but overall, like I feel like they do hold up. When I was watching, it's funny though, I was watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I was thinking of a few things that the film absolutely, I believe, holds up. I haven't shown it to someone of the younger generation to see if they would, but Josh Chandran he recommended this. He's one of my students from the 2010s. So he's like, yeah, these movies were 30 years old when he was watching them as a teenager himself. So proof. Thank you, Josh. But as I'm watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm realizing that some things that would be very confusing. The amount of smoking. They're like smoking all the time.
Yeah.
John Candy's character is smoking in their hotel room. Like, gross. Cash. He had, Steve Martin's character had over $700 of cash in his wallet. And he only had one credit card.
Yeah.
And then he had a gas card, and he had a Neiman Marcus, like, department store card. He had one credit card. It was Diners Club. It wasn't even Visa or MasterCard.
Yeah.
Like, those points are really central to the difficulty they were going to experience. Like, if credit, like, oh, I can use my phone. There's no cell phones. That was another piece that made things difficult. Like, you had to use an actual phone and pay phones and what you could do on a computer, and like none of this stuff. Like that would be, I think, for a younger generation looking at it, would be hard. I don't think, other than those things that we just kind of said, I don't think that they would otherwise have as hard a time, as long as they can separate, like, oh, that was back then. Like when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, we watched something from the 50s and thought, oh, that was back then.
Right. Yeah. And listen, I don't disagree, especially Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's probably one that you could ship as is, right? Like all the stuff you just pointed out, you can't remake that movie as is. You need to update it, because, I mean, there's a whole montage where he has to sell, shower curtain rings as earrings to make money, because there was no other way for them to get cash, right? It was the weekend, it was the holidays, like there was no ATMs, all of that wasn't a thing. So that movie is great, and it's so quotable. It's one of the things I love about all these movies. They all have a quote, where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. Like, there are great lines in all these movies, right? Anthony Michael Hall in two of these movies gets high and does the same voice, which I love. He does the same exact stoner voice. You know what it is? Chicks can't hold their smoke. That's what it is. And they're just movie quotes that stick in my brain. But, and I say this with a heavy heart, there are elements of these movies that, and I understand it was the time, and it's fine for what it was, But if you were to show some of this stuff to kids today, they would be horrified. And not even the use of the language, right? So in 16 Candles, Jake is unhappy with his girlfriend, who's the party girl, and she's taking advantage of his rich parents because they have this huge house and this huge party, and she's destroyed, trash, drunk. And the geeky character, he gets information about Molly Ringwald's character from him, and he goes, well, I'll let you use, I forget exactly the exchange, but he's like, oh, you can just have my girlfriend for the night, essentially. He hands his drunk girlfriend to this kid who's a freshman, and they never show anything, but the implication is by the end that they have had drunken sex together, and she's happy about it because she woke up in his arms. And it seems to be like a very casual toss away joke, and at the time it was played for like mild humor, but like that's about as close to date rapey as you can get. And I don't want to say that phrase exactly.
Yeah,
but
I mean, Revenge of the Nerds is the same thing.
Yeah, and so, and then
Okay, so 16
there was another
Candles
16 Candles
off the table. Can't show it. Not allowed.
I don't think you can't show it. I
How
just
dare
think
you.
that's one of those you have to. It's almost like not just John Hughes movies. We're just talking about John Hughes movies. All movies from this era probably should come with a warning label of there's some insensitive shit on these movies because this is how we talked in the 80s, right? The F word.
Before.
Oh,
70s, 60s, 50s.
Oh yeah, it was.
The turn was more the 2000s.
There was an entire subculture of movies called T&A movies that were just to show young teenage college girls running around half naked. Half the horror movies were just gratuitous nudity. So like when you call out that there's nudity in 16 Candles, yes, it's in that movie. It's very, as neutral as you get it. She's in a shower all by herself. It's not like there's anything gratuitous about it. Other than the fact that she's naked. It's not like,
well, do
you know what I mean? She's not
totally
it's not like
unnecessary.
It was unnecessary, but it wasn't like a sex scene. It wasn't a dirty scene. It was as clean as you can get and make it nude at the same time. But again, that probably wouldn't, maybe that part would probably fly, but I don't know. But some of the racial references, the boys will be boys attitude. You've called it out. Ferris doesn't get in trouble for anything. You know what I mean? I'm on our school board in town, and if he was my student, I'd be losing my mind. I'm like, what do you mean?
You'd be Mr. Rooney. You'd be Principal Rooney.
I'd be Ed
chasing
Rooney.
him down.
Ed Rooney. So yeah, I think I think there's elements that don't hold up. I do love these movies. I'll never stop loving these movies, but there are parts of it that make me go.
So I actually think all but one holds up in that you could show it with a caveat in certain situations. But the one that doesn't hold up is Weird Science. That movie on rewatch is shit. Don't know why. In the IMDb is still a 6.6. So, I mean, that's pretty good. And I know the argument is, well, now you're watching it from an older lens. Yes, I rewatched 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Breakfast Club, and I rewatched Weird Science. Only one of those did not hold up, and that's Weird Science. I don't know why I liked it so much and why others did too. But it worked at the time, and I think that often happens. Like, you watch a movie, you love it, and then you rewatch it decades later, and it just doesn't quite work. And that's one. And it's not because of inappropriate stuff as much as the fact that it's just dumb.
So it's funny because I agree it doesn't hold up in the way, I don't think you could make that movie today. I think it would fail miserably, right? But I also rewatched that, not specifically for this, just a few months ago, just because I was like, hey, I haven't seen Weird Science in a long time. I wonder if it's still funny. And and maybe it was the nostalgia enjoyment, will caveat, maybe it was me because, again, I loved it as a kid. But I think all the stuff you just said about why you didn't like it and why it's shit are the reasons I loved it, because it was absurd. It was ridiculous. You know, there's a fight scene at the end at the party where the two other guys, also Robert Downey Jr., one of his first spots, Iron Man shows up as one of the jock a-holes, and they're fighting with the guys, and the little setup that they use to take a Barbie doll and make it a real woman hits the cover of a magazine where there's a picture of a missile, and suddenly a missile comes up through the floor. It's absurd. It's ludicrous. And to me, that's what is hysterical about it. I love the absurdity of it. Bill Paxton as Chet, just a fucking dingus of an older brother like this.
His Bill Paxton is awesome in that as
He's
Chet.
so good as Chet. Like everything, all of the stuff you said and why you don't like it are the reasons I do, because it's absurd and it's foolish, and
Okay.
16 Candles could happen.
The
Right?
reason I
Planes,
don't like
trains,
it,
and automobiles could happen. Weird Science just couldn't happen.
the reason I don't like it is because
You're
of the
dead
premise. The premise is Frankenstein, that they use science to create a woman that's the perfect woman. But she has all these abilities that make her really a genie. So the issue I have, and not the issue everyone has with it, but it's the fact that they keep treating this like it's a Frankenstein movie when it's an I Dream of Jeannie movie. It's Bewitched. It's not. She's able to just snap her fingers and change reality. Frankenstein can't do that. So my issue with it being garbage is the premise that it's Frankenstein. I'm sorry. It's I Dream of Jeannie, and they should have played it as such. And that's...
Yeah, they try to explain that by saying they're using advanced computer technology, because they supposedly, there's a whole thing where they dial into NASA and they put the phone on the modem thing, and so they're suddenly getting all this compute power, which is, in the 80s was the ultimate, this is the power, and the government, it was the government's power, it was Pentagon power, you know what I mean? I never thought about it as a genie movie. I guess it absolutely is a genie movie.
Yes.
But
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And yet, oh man, it never comes, like if they just recognized we got a genie at some point, I would have been okay with it.
I will say they're pretty loosely tied on the Frankenstein thing, and the only tie-in is literally they happen to do a weird flashover to the old Frankenstein movie where he goes, "It's alive," and that's it. It's like they never say she's a Frankenstein's monster, really. She's a creation. And let me be honest, in the 80s, I had a mad crush on Kelly LeBrock. I mean, who didn't? That girl was gorgeous. When did Weird Science come out? 85, 87? 85. So I was 16 when that came out? So we were in the zone for those two kids.
Yeah.
So she was the beautiful older woman, and it was, but yeah, it was definitely a weird one. But I think it's time to do some digging. I see you doing the dig. Hold on. Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
So for me, it's the soundtracks. That's my basement treasure with these things. I have there are songs that I just associate with a moment. Some of them make perfect sense. Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, which I've recently found out this year, before we did this podcast, but I did the research to make sure what I heard was true. Simple Minds did not want to record this song, that it was written by one of the composers that John Hughes works with. And then, so they went to another band, and no one wanted or had the time to do it. And Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders, married to John Kerr, I think his name is, of Simple Minds, convinced him to record it. They recorded it in 3 hours. thought it was garbage, and moved on with their lives. And it wasn't until their agent told them, your song's a huge hit in the United States, that he even knew. And then they look back and they realize that they were being dicks about this whole thing. So like, Don't You Forget About Me, love that song. I think that is one of the best songs of the 80s, and the band didn't even want to make it. So I think that's amazing. And then for no good reason, David Bowie's Young Americans, I think of the wedding montage scene when they're leaving, getting ready. It's playing while they're getting ready to leave for the wedding, and they see Long Duck Dong, automobile, because he's crashed the car, and it leads right into that, and just Young Americans is playing, and it just really hit with me. But like, he made songs that some were original, like Don't You Forget About Me, and Oingo Boingo's Weird Science, which, even though the movie doesn't stand the test of time, that song is still a banger. But Oh Yeah, from Ferris Bueller, like, that had been out for a year, and then that came out, and he used it twice in the film, and it, like, perfect spots. So for me, like, his use of music was so like solid, and his, like, both using like original songs and then finding just the right song to use in the moment. Like, I thought he was brilliant with his soundtracks. So for me, it's the soundtrack.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't tell you the number of times I made that sound after the movie came out. Like, it's just guttural. It lives in your chest when you hear it. And you're right, the placement and the editing around the way they use that song is absolutely perfect. And I mean, Don't You Forget About Me, I can't imagine that song not being paired. We haven't talked about this movie, and my kids and my wife make fun of me for it, but I love the original Pitch Perfect movie. And I love it because there's a lot of great mashups of songs in that movie, and they're all songs. And at the end of the movie, they do a mashup, and he actually, the character, Skylar, I think his name is, shows, the female lead. I say it's one of my favorite movies, and now I can't think of anyone who's in the movie. Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick is the female lead, and I think it's Skylar Astin plays the guy, and he shows her Breakfast Club in that movie as this amazing movie with this anthem of the song, Don't You Forget About Me, and then they use it at the end of the movie in their mashup. And like, it's like a really meta impact on culture and movies where they use a movie and that song in another movie about having an impact in that same way. And if you've seen Pitch Perfect, it's got a lot of parallels to Breakfast Club in its own way, in its own musical crazy way, but it does. But I love, and I've done it a bunch already, but I love the quotes. There's moments from those movies where, the pillows quote, and and Uncle Buck, he goes in to see, you talking about the smoking. Uncle Buck smoked through the entire movie, in the car, in the house with the kids, walking through the school. He's smoking a cigar the entire time. But he goes in to see, the principal, who is like a caricature of a horrible old woman. She's even got a wart. She's like the witch character. And he walks in and he goes, "Hi, I'm Buck Melanoma. I'm Molly Russell's wart." And it's like a conversation that would never truly happen. And he just continues to go through this whole thing. And finally he gets pissed off because she's saying that the 6-year-old shouldn't be a silly pants and a dreamer. And he loses his mind, and he goes, "Here's a quarter. Why don't you go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face?" There's so many iconic lines. Macaulay Culkin, one of his first movies, was Uncle Buck. And the reason, and I don't know if we said this before, Hughes wrote Home Alone for Macaulay Culkin because he liked him so much in Uncle Buck. And he did that in a few times. And some of these he wrote in like a weekend.
Yes.
Like it's crazy how quickly he turned out this material that we have, that we grew up in. And maybe that's where some of the problematic stuff still lives, because he just did it in a weekend. I don't know. But there are so many great quotes, and I won't try to do anymore. But I loved how there's just so many iconic moments from our childhood that still live in.
It's
in
just
those
amazing,
quotes.
like that he wrote essentially a dozen movies, maybe more. I think he maybe have more writing credits just in the 80s. And the reason he could be that prolific is he wrote them all in like 2 or 3 days. At least I keep seeing that, like, oh, I wrote Planes, Trains, and Automobiles over the weekend. I did this one over a weekend. I did
16
Candles
Candles
over the weekend.
16 Candles he wrote in a single weekend. Ferris Bueller's Day Off in less than a week. Those are the two
they're
that
all
I
like
found.
really fast, right? So,
they're 90 minutes at best. Yeah.
What's crazy is that he stopped. But yeah, so to go back to your point about quotes, 100%. I mean, we quoted those movies so much. I've actually been trained to stop living in quotes because Steve and I and all of our friends, we said this in an earlier podcast. I think 90% of what we said to one another was from a movie or a movie quote. It felt that way, and it felt that way to our partners, to our wives, and like, will you please stop quoting things?
Can I tell you, I remember...
that's what I blame for not being able to quote these movies anymore, because
You're afraid.
I've been trained not to speak in quotes.
I remember after Me, Myself, and Irene...
Yes.
There was a quote, Jim Carrey, Warden, I want my own cell.
Yes.
And we said it so much around your wife that she did. I remember her going, can you guys please stop? Because it's too much.
Yeah. And I know not John Hughes, but Hetty Goodness from
The Simpsons. Yes.
There's
from Apu.
There's a frozen head in the Frogurt. Yeah, it's full of Hetty Goodness.
And it was a Halloween episode because it was the Frogurt, which was also
cursed.
evil, also cursed. All right. Well, I think it's time to move on just a little.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
Yeah. So I know we referenced it earlier about talking about like influence, and I was trying to think, because I talked about, someone watching these movies now is less like us watching a movie from the 50s. And I wondered, is it overstated that John Hughes was so impactful? And I thought about like what teen movies lasted over the years from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And a lot of them, they weren't like funny movies. Like, so I feel like one of the impacts he had was creating a quality teenage comedy that was also spoke to us, like spoke to that generation and to today. Like, I do think these movies stand the test of time because of that teen angst, that struggle against the adults. And the adults were all dum-dums in these movies. They weren't admirable. Like Ferris Bueller, there was only 2 teachers you saw, and they were the most boring teachers. And the principal was one of the main villains of the movie. The only cool one was the admin, who, but and that his parents were pretty clueless. But then Cameron's parents were evil, or at least his dad was.
Yeah,
so
it made him sound like a dick.
Yeah, so like all of that, was so influential, because I think about the movies from the 90s, some that I really like that were teen movies in the 2000s, like they owe it to those John Hughes movies, because before that we had like Rebel Without a Cause and Blackboard Jungle and American Graffiti. And not that there wasn't any potentially humorous aspects to those, but they were mostly about teenage,
Was rebellion.
Teenage rebellion. Yeah. And it wasn't like that comedy in the quick. And I said, like, even though a lot of our quotes have been wiped out from our minds, like there's so many quotable lines, and it's just, and the tightness of the plot. Almost everything was taking place in the course of 24 hours or 2 days.
16 Candles was like one day.
Yeah. Same thing with Breakfast Club, and Weird Science even was very tight time frames.
Yeah.
These were tight time
Like a
frames.
weekend.
And and you can see that effect in movies and influence of movies like American Pie and Mean Girls and 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah. Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. Yeah. And I haven't seen it yet, but apparently in Weapons, there's a scene when they're running through like yards that they were influenced by Ferris Bueller's, running home to try to beat his parents. And then and I'll see some movies where I'll see something similar to that, like in the British zombie movie, Shaun of the Dead, like where I'll see like scenes of people going through yards, and I just can't help but think, were they influenced by Ferris Bueller? And like Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I think has a scene that he's kind of racing through yards, and it's like the impacts were really far reaching, I think, and a lot of directors have said that, and comedy writers have said that they were influenced by him. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I just watched Uncle Buck, and I know this is the internet being evil and using its algorithms against me, but then the other day I was scrolling on TikTok and I got Uncle Buck clips
Yeah.
in my TikTok feed, which is funny because somebody obviously took, and it wasn't me, I didn't do it, but somebody took the time to take those clips
Yeah.
and put them on TikTok because they're trying to share. And I will say that John, there was a kid in Uncle Buck. There was another movie. It's the only other movie I remember him from, and I don't remember the actor's name. It was called The Boy Who Could Fly, which was another fantastical 80s, 90s movie. And he just terrorized this kid because he was dating the niece. But I mean, just the impact of John Hughes on the lives of the actors, his core, I mean, the Brat Pack doesn't exist without John Hughes, right? He gave most of them, if not all of them, their start. Like I don't know about, I can't think of his name.
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe. Yeah. So Rob
He's the
Lowe
only
is
one.
Every other one of them, Ali
Was
Sheedy,
in a John Hughes film.
Yeah, Ali Sheedy, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, all of these guys and girls. Demi Moore was maybe not in a John Hughes movie. I don't remember her being in one of
That's
his
true.
movies.
Yeah.
But
no.
I mean, he had, of the 6 or 8 of them, most of them were part of his crew. Anthony Michael Hall, I don't think he was ever technically a Brat Pack kind of kid, but like these people got their start. So I just I don't know how that's a specific evolution for Hughes, but he was certainly the reason these people got to do. And look at Macaulay Culkin. If it wasn't for John Hughes, Macaulay Culkin is probably washing dishes in some restaurant. I don't know. He might have been brilliant anyway. I don't know, but he was great as a kid anyway in all of these movies.
Yeah.
So I think as we're running through time here, let's talk to our folks. These folks that we need to talk to.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
Well,
So-
I just have some advice based on what you just said. I mean, you said that you've seen TikTok clips.
Yes.
Go see the actual movies.
Yes.
I know, like you might see something problematic, but younger generation, give it a chance and just gain some distance. Like realize that we've progressed. Like if you see that and you're thinking, oh, that's bad. I can't believe they said that or did that. Yes, it was bad. And we progressed. We learned. And we're Gen X. We were some of those perpetrators and we've changed. So, but just look
I
at it.
don't know if I like the use of the word perpetrator.
I have to admit that I said some slurs back in the day.
Oh, back in the day, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. You have to, and I don't know if it'll ever truly hit them the way it hits us, right? It probably won't. But so in a very weird parallel, my younger daughter, Gianna, just had her 10th birthday. She had a bunch of friends over, and there's a movie that's been out right now on Netflix. It's a kids movie called K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
And it's a musical, and the music's actually pretty good. I like the music. It's a standard fare kids animation. And it's all in the title. They're Korean pop stars who fight demons. But every girl at that party knew that movie inside and out. And so if you have an experience like that with a movie, whether it's one of ours, or if you're young enough that it's K-pop Demon Hunters, or something in between, think that, put yourself in that place, and then watch some of these movies and look at the character interactions and look at the absurdity of some of these, because these are great, great movies. And look at Uncle Buck is 40 years old, and maybe it's because it's the 40th anniversary is coming up that they're clipping it and putting, trying to get people to come back to it. But if you've seen those clips, go find the movie. Uncle Buck is hysterical.
Yeah, and Breakfast Club getting re-released this month in September when we're recording this. September 10th at the O'Neill Cinema in Epping, where we live, Steve.
Ooh, we might have.
and-
Oh my God, Breakfast Club in the theater.
Yeah, and I will say this. So if you do need a starting point, I think Breakfast Club has the least amount of material that you could find objectionable today. There's no teen nudity. There's if the homophobic F slur is being used, it's not like it was in some of the other movies. But it's not like they're saying it all the time, but it's just I think now we're so sensitive to it. But because I showed the Breakfast Club in my film studies class when I was a high school English teacher, and I don't remember it being prevalent. So it stands the test of time.
Breakfast Club will always be one of my favorite movies. In a different way than Weird Science, but yeah,
it's a critical hit.
It is. I'm getting there.
It's critical hits and epic fails.
All right, you were ready for it. Why don't you dive in?
Well, I already made my pitch for Breakfast Club, but now I'm going to make my pitch for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because I think he's considered John Hughes is like with teenage movies. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Steve Martin, John Candy. I wondered if it would still stand the test of time. Comedy has a hard time doing that. I do think this one does it. I really do. It still holds up. It still has plenty of great comedy. Steve Martin has this rant because he's just at the end of he just wants to get home for Thanksgiving, and everything has been conspiring against him. And he's at the rental car counter, and the car he's supposed to get, he wasn't there. He's had trials and tribulations, and he just goes on this rant where every other word is the F word. And he's like, tells the rental car woman who's the admin in Ferris Bueller's
the
Day
same
Off.
lady,
sweet girl, sweet woman. I mean, and he's like, wipe that fucking smile off your fucking face. And then he just F-bomb, 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 F-bomb. Now, can you give me a fucking car right fucking now? And she said, do you have your rental agreement? I tore it the fuck up. Oh, I'm sorry. That means you're fucked. And he doesn't get his rental car. He gets screwed. And it's so good. So good.
I forgot about that scene because that's one of the I hadn't gotten to watch again recently, but I love the juxtaposition.
And the reason that works so well comedically is he doesn't swear. He's calm and controlled as much as possible throughout the film. He flips out once before John Candy, but he doesn't ever swear during his little rant. He never drops the F-bomb, never swears. after, before, like it's out of character. He's just reached the end of his rope. And then this little sweet woman drops the F-bomb too. She's like,
Well, that's what I was going to say. The juxtaposition in that scene enhances that because yes, he's never sworn. Now he's freaking out and he's doing it to the sweet lady and you don't
Yeah.
expect her to swear.
yeah,
And hers is the final turn that makes it that much funnier because you understand him because you've been on his journey with him. And she's just like, well, sorry. So one of the things that I love about those movies too is when you were talking about how there was the world was conspiring against him. This might be slightly off topic, but it reminded me of movies like Meet the Fockers. And what I love about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is the one thing I hated about Meet the Fockers. And that is in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, everything that conspires against him feels organic, right? He gets so pissed off, he tears his thing up. That's people do that. They're frustrated, right? And, in Meet the Fockers, like he gets in trouble because they're playing water volleyball and he hits the ball too hard. And everything's so over exaggerated. And I know that's supposed to be part of the charm and the humor of that movie. It just grates on my soul because it's so absurd. They're taking what should be a real situation where people would go, oh my God, he would still be in trouble, but not to the degree that they show it. But in Planes, Trains, in his movies, the anger is organic and it's pulled out from real situations, right? It's maybe the absurdity is everything does happen against him, but every one of those elements on their own could be a thing. So I do love that movie, and now I'm going to have to watch it again. So I'm going to take the fails, and there's a couple big ones. I mentioned one of them earlier. The casually handing off of a drunk girlfriend from one guy to the next, pretty problematic by today's standards, and probably should have been by then too. And I will say this, they try to play it very light. Because he's sort of because he's the dorky guy and it's the innocence of he's never even like hugged a girl. Like they never show them having sex and they both just sort of assume that they've had sex.
Yeah, so the slight redemption of that over The Way It Happens in Revenge of the Nerds is that in the next morning, he can't remember either.
Yes.
He's drunk as well. However, the premise of even being in that situation is exactly as problematic as you said.
Oh, yeah, the whole idea
It's
that the jock would give away
that we're like, oh, okay, he also doesn't remember. He also was drunk. He also,
yeah.
Yeah,
and the jock guy Jake, who everybody plays up as a Prince Charming character, is a guy who gave his drunk girlfriend to a drunk guy and said, "Here, go have some fun," because he's so upset with her. That to me, also in 16 Candles, as much as I love the character of Long Duck Dong because of listen, it is about as extravagant a stereotype as you can make. But like every time they say his name, there's like there's like a gong sound.
gong.
It reminds me of Young Frankenstein. Whenever they say Frau Blöche and you hear the horses,
Yeah.
yes. It's that same absurdity. Long Duck Dong. And they constantly call him a Chinaman, which I apologize. I don't know if I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's what they call him in the movie. I'm like, oh, that's, it's kind of off. And he's sort of a geeky character too in that movie and kind of comes into his own a little bit with automobile. But so those are the fails to me that some of those elements have gone stale and have not aged well.
He gets an American girlfriend. Come on. It's good. Long Duck Dong is good.
He was a great character for the time, but I think by
Yes.
today's standards, people would be like, that's about as offensive as you could. It's almost as bad as Mickey Rooney playing an Asian man at Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
It's only a half a step
It
below
wasn't
that.
Mickey Rooney though, was it? Wasn't it?
No, it was Mickey Rooney.
It
in
was
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, I thought it was. He did them too, though.
Jerry Lewis did
automatically.
it.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis did.
Jerry
that.
Lewis did it too. Very proud. Maybe they both did it. At least one. I want to say in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
It was probably Mickey Rooney.
It was
and
Mickey
Jerry
Rooney.
Lewis did it and other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my fail, just because I would have loved it, is Hughes retiring before he could come through on his promise to have a sequel to Breakfast Club 10 years down the road, like their 10-year reunion. That would have been awesome. Or 20 would have been great. But then he passed away in 2009, and so it was never going to happen. But that was my quick fail.
I'm gonna give away a gold mine to anybody who might be listening who can actually produce this thing. They need to remake. The big thing right now is the nostalgia sequel. So they need to make a version of the Breakfast Club where all of the original characters' kids are in detention together.
There you go.
So you have that generational spread. You have all the original characters, and then they get together, and it's all their kids that are in this detention, and they relive the experience of the Breakfast Club. All right, this has been a long one. We're a little over an hour. If you're still with us, thanks for hanging out with us. So we don't have any listener mail to respond to at this point, but once again, Josh Janvrin, thanks for the idea. Obviously,
This whole thing was a response to a listener.
This was
Thank you, Josh.
Our this is one of our longest episodes without a guest, and it's because we love this topic so much. So if you have something for us, Original Geek Podcast at gmail.com, go to the originalgeekpodcast.com website, and you can send us notes. I'm starting to put up show notes from every show. I'm trying to find a good format so that there'll be images, all the stuff we talk about, trying to get it in so that we can have it. As you might have noticed, I'm wearing the official Original Geek Podcast t-shirt, logo t-shirt. So our merch is live and it's really well done. We use a company called Printful. Shout out to Printful, just in case they're going to give us some free stuff. Not an official sponsor, but which is a quote from another friend's show. But check us out. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. Follow us on social media. Comment on the videos. Everything that you can do to help us out. They're easily double taps, clicks. Love stuff. Whatever you want to do. Everything helps us get our word out more, so we can share our goofy remembrances of the 70s, 80s, and 90s with you guys, and tell you why it's better to be an original geek than anything else.
All right. Thank you, OGs. Catch you next time.
All right. Take it easy.